Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 horror movies that absolutely freaked me out. And with that, let's get to the list.
What did you do?
What did you do?
Pet Sematary.
Pet Sematary is a 1989 supernatural horror movie. Directed by Mary Lambert, it's adapted from the 1983 Stephen King novel of the same name, and stars Del Metcalf, Fred Gwynne, and Mike Hughes. After tragedy strikes, a grieving father discovers that an ancient burial ground behind his home has the power to raise the dead.
What did we do tonight, Judd?
What we did, Lois, was a secret.
So before we get rolling too much into this, I want to kind of explain to you where I'm coming from with this list. These are not all necessarily movies that would freak everybody out. They're not even movies that would really freak me out now either. They're movies that at different points in my life for different reasons have freaked me out. Now, don't get me wrong, some of them are still, a lot to watch and would get to most people, if not everybody. But there are some of them like this, Pet Sematary, where this is a movie that was really the first horror movie I saw, like genuine horror movie, and especially one that I watched by myself. Before this, I think the scariest thing I'd seen was Jurassic Park. I think I might have seen the It miniseries. My sister told me that we did watch that, but I don't remember watching it. But this one, I remember being a young teenager and visiting some family down in San Diego and watching this on VHS by myself super late at night, and it just got under my skin and freaked me out. It stayed with me for weeks afterwards. But the crazy thing was, it was like horror was embedded in me from this point forward, because I could not stop myself from seeking out different horror movies. Even though I wasn't a big fan of being scared, I loved the creativity, I loved the artistry, I loved all the different things that the horror genre provides, and this was really my introduction to that. But I still think this is a fantastic movie, and even though maybe some of it is a little bit dated and you could definitely pick it apart, especially if you're a younger person, you might not be able to see what us older people enjoy about it, but I still think it's a great movie. It's one that I still really enjoy to watch and definitely deserves to be on my list.
I'll never be alone again.
Event Horizon is a 1997 sci-fi horror movie. Directed by Paul W. Sanderson, it stars Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, and Julie Richardson. Set in 2047, it follows a crew of astronauts who are sent on a rescue mission after a missing spaceship, the Event Horizon, which spontaneously reappears orbiting near Neptune.
Where's she been for the last 7 years, Doctor?
That's what we're here to find out.
I am such a huge fan of this movie. It's one of my favorite horror movies ever, but especially for horror sci-fi. And if you've watched this channel for quite a while, you've heard me talk about it a number of times. But there has been few movies that have stuck with me and messed with me longer than this one. Because I remember seeing it when it first came out in theaters, and it just freaked me out. It was like the weirdest thing. I just could not get it out of my head. Everything about it, it just like tormented my soul, so to speak, in a way that I almost didn't enjoy, but then I started to appreciate that. And it's another movie that kind of helped me down my journey of discovering horror and growing to have a respect and love and appreciation for the genre. But the way this movie shows its evil and the demonic and creepy and just terrifying visuals that you get, and that mystery, this was really the first movie to introduce me to that Lovecraftian cosmic horror, the fear of the unknown, of the thing you can't explain. This was really that first movie to introduce me to that. And to this day, that's still one of the few things that freaks me out, because it's That thing that is unknowable, the thing that you just can't get your mind around as a human, that is what just gets under my skin and makes my blood just run cold. But the entire cast is fantastic in this. The visuals are great in it. Even to this day, some of them may be a little dated, but for the most part, I think this movie, even on a rewatch, is still badass. But I just think The Event Horizon is a special movie and one that'll probably forever stick with me.
I know this book will drive people crazy. Well, let's hope so. The movie comes out next month.
In the Mouth of Madness is a 1994 supernatural horror movie. Directed and scored by John Carpenter, it stars Sam Neill, Julie Carmen, and Jorgen Prichnow. It tells the story of John Trent, an insurance investigator who visits a small town while looking into the disappearance of a successful author and begins to question his sanity as the lines between reality and fiction begin to blur.
It's a setup. I just have to work out how it's set up.
Kane's writing has been known to have an effect on his readers.
This is another one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think it's a funny thing that I'm just thinking about now. This entire list is basically made up of movies that really are some of my favorites. Like, all of them are amazing movies, ones that are very special to me. And yet they're all ones that really got to me, that freaked me out for a very long time. And I just think that's an interesting thing. But the element about this movie that got to me the most is the feeling of losing sanity. And I remember this movie affecting me long after I'd seen it because it just caused me to start going down these deep rabbit holes in my mind that absolutely scared me, because death has never been the biggest thing as far as what scares me. It's always been that sense of the unknown, that sense of losing your mind and going to some place or whatever where you lose control and you have no sense of reality, no sense of belonging, no sense of self, all of those things. And some of it at the time had to do with, you know, me doing some different kinds of substances that sent me to different planes of existence. And so I wasn't on anything when I watched this movie, but those ideas, those things were still something I was dealing with a lot. I was in my late teens, early 20s at the time, and it just caused me to really have a lot of these deep thoughts that will also freak you out if you go too far down that channel, that lane. And I definitely did at the time. But beyond that, this movie is just fantastic. It's well written, it's well shot. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter's for sure. I love Sam Neill. His character in this is so cool. But just the visuals about it, the different directions that it takes, this mysterious quality that it has. It's just such a fun movie and a really underrated one that just not enough people have seen to this day. And for sure, not enough people talk about it. It's really one that deserves to be talked about when you're talking about some of the best horror movies, especially when it comes to the cosmic-y horror kind. And so not only is In the Mouth of Madness one of my favorite horror movies ever, it is definitely one of the ones that got to me the most. The Human Centipede is a 2009 Dutch body horror movie, directed and co-produced by Tom Six. It stars Dieter Laser, Ashley Yenny, and Ashley C. Williams. A mad scientist abducts and mutilates a trio of tourists in order to reassemble them as a human centipede.
A Siamese triplet connected via the gastric system. The Human Centipede, first sequence.
So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, where it isn't so much that a movie would freak me out now or most people, but it's when I saw it and at the time and all of that. And this is one of those situations where I saw this when it first came out, so I didn't know anything about this at all. I just saw, hey, a new release at Hollywood Video, it's horror. Enough said, I'm out. And I just grabbed it, went with my friend, and we watched it. And it just got me so bad because I hadn't seen a lot of crazy extreme horror. I hadn't seen a lot of body horror, definitely not in the way that this does it, because there's this clinical way, this surgical way that the gore and the gruesomeness of this is presented, because you don't see a lot of blood. You don't see tons and tons of buckets of gore, because there's something weird that happens if you see enough. You know, it's like going and seeing the band Gwar. There's so much grossness going on that you get quickly desensitized, and it just becomes humorous. It just becomes entertaining. It doesn't really get to you in the same way that a movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre does, where you don't see much, but it's the ideas, the concepts that get in your head and mess with you the most. And that's what this movie did at the time, especially having no idea what it was even about. I mean, I didn't even read the synopsis. And so it's just like, bam, I am all of a sudden in this situation. And it has pretty girls who are likable, that you don't want to see mutilated. You don't want to see bad things happen to them. But it also has this really dark, oppressive, disturbing tone to it that is what, even to this day, makes this movie still work. And even though the sequels went on to get way more extreme, more upsetting, more gross, all those things, they didn't affect me in the same way, because it's not the grossness of things. It's not all of that always gets to me. It's, like I said, the tone and the way it's presented. And this movie, especially in that time, was presented in a way that just made me so freaked out. But I do think that in a lot of ways, The Human Centipede gets a bad rap, because it's one of those that I think a lot of people have seen and then moved on and not really went back and rewatched. But it's one of those that if you do, there's a lot of that Texas Chainsaw Massacre element in this, because it's not so much what you see, but the ideas, the concepts, the tone, the way it's presented. That's what's so disturbing about this movie. And so I'm just saying, I think it deserves more credit than it gets, because it isn't just simply a shock horror movie. There is actual filmmaking here, and it's actually a pretty solid movie. It's a 2019 Spanish sci-fi horror movie, directed by Galder Gatalu Urrutia, and stars Ivan Masengu and Zorian Ingliar. In a prison where inmates are fed on a descending platform. And this is one that I saw during the pandemic and really got to me, because it was right around the time where a lot of things were kind of setting in that, oh, we were going to be in this for a while. We were going to be dealing with this world for quite a while. And just all the hoarding that was going on, so many people taking more than they needed of everything, not just toilet paper, but what more, and try to find a way, even if it's a small way, but in some way give back, do whatever I could to do something for my fellow man, so to speak. And that's what really gave life to this channel, because a lot of people could look at this and say, you know, hey, you're not doing much for society, you're not saving lives, like whatever. And I'm not saying that I am. But in the world that we're in right now, where there just seems to be a lot of chaos and negativity, and that's why this channel has always been built on positivity. I didn't ever want this to be a negative feeling place. The way that they do the futuristic platforms with the food and just everything about this aesthetically is awesome and wonderful and beautiful, but it's that much more bleak, that much more uncomfortable, gross, you name it. So this is another one that had so when I was putting this list together, the platform without a doubt deserved to be on it. Kissed is a 1996 Canadian erotic dark drama, co-written and directed by Lynn Stopkowicz. It stars Molly Parker and Peter Outerbridge. Over the years, a woman's romantic ideals about death blossom into necrophilia, the study of embalming, and the most profound relationship of her life.
When a thing turns into its opposite, when love becomes hate, or life turns into death, it's explosive.
This movie, even still to this day, thinking about this movie freaks me out, just gets me so uncomfortable. It is one of the weirdest movies that you never, ever hear anyone mention. I couldn't really find it streaming anywhere. The only place I found that you can watch it is streaming on YouTube, but it isn't put up by YouTube, so to speak, so I can't tell you the link. All I can say is that if you type in the name of the movie and the year, you'll see it. It'll pop up. It's a decent quality version of the movie as well. but it's not exactly put up on YouTube, so I can't put a link anywhere or it will get taken down. But this movie is so bizarre. It's so creepy. It's so gross. It's really, really dark and just really, really goes for it. Because as bizarre as it sounds, it's even more weird to watch because it is very erotic. I remember seeing this when I was a teenager, you know, just I think 17, 18, something like that. And it was like, she's hot, attractive woman. It's very sexually, you know, driven. There's a lot of sexual energy in this movie, super erotic. But yet at the same time, it involves dead bodies and lots of stuff to do with dead bodies. And she works in a morgue and it shows stuff and it's very graphic, very gross, at least from what I can remember. And I don't think I've seen it again. I might have seen it again, but either way, it's been many, many years since I have seen it. But it's still very vivid in my mind how disturbing it was. So even though it's not a movie that's necessarily listed as a horror movie, it's the only one on here that is not listed as a horror movie. This to me still feels very horrific. It feels very horror in that dark, dread, uncomfortable, you know, strange and bizarre way. And because I haven't seen it in so many years, I can't tell you if it 100% still holds up as well as I think it would. But if I remember correctly, I mean, it's well acted, it's well shot, beautifully shot. The scripting, the dialogue, the direction of it, everything is really well done. It's a good movie. It takes the subject matter serious, and it's also what makes it even more creepy. And I'm someone that is like, you know, to each their own, as long as you're not hurting anybody with whatever your kinks are. I mean, everybody's got their own whatever stuff, right? This is one of those things, though, that to me, you know, is where the line is crossed, especially because you are affecting other people, at least the dead body of other people, you know. And I don't know, man, this movie is just bizarre, and it's all I can really say about it. And so if what I've said about Kissed piqued your interest, sounds interesting to you, I think it's definitely worth your time, but it is a very freaky movie.
I just don't want to put any more stress on my family.
Hereditary is a 2018 supernatural horror movie. Written and directed by Ari Aster in his feature directorial debut. It stars Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, and Millie Shapiro. The film follows a grieving family, haunted by a mysterious presence after the death of their secretive grandmother.
Who's gonna take care of me?
You don't think I'm gonna take care of you?
But when you die...
So I'm guessing that the majority of you guys have seen this movie. So you're aware of why this movie freaked me out, because I know it got to a lot of people. There's definitely some that it didn't get to. A lot of people I've seen comment on videos where I've talked about it before that don't like it or think it's overrated, whatever. It's a personal thing, but at least for me, it's one that definitely did the trick, because the way evil is represented in this, the tone of this movie, the way it looks, all of that stuff just absolutely got under my skin. On top of that, there were some twists and turns and things that it does. One scene in particular that put my jaw on the floor. I did not see coming and shocked the absolute shit out of me. On top of that, Toni Collette and Alex Wolff both just give the most haunting, powerful, just absolutely amazing performances in this. But Hereditary is just a downright disturbing and creepy movie, but it's super well done, it's well shot, well directed. Just a movie that, in my opinion, is one of the best horror movies that's been made in the last 20 years. All I can say is if you're one of the few out there that have yet to see Hereditary, do yourself a favor, go in as blind as you can and check this one out. The Night House is a 2021 psychological horror movie. Directed by David Bruckner, it stars Rebecca Hall, Sarah Goldberg, and Evan Jonike. A woman uncovers her recently deceased husband's disturbing secrets.
You said you were safe? Safe from what?
have raved about this movie for a few years now, ever since it came out. I just think it's so underrated. It's just a brilliantly done movie on every level. It looks phenomenal. It's dark and disturbing and ominous. The way that evil is presented in this is just fascinating and something that just disturbed me to my core. But the way that it shows depression and grief and things like that in this movie are just haunting, more to me than almost anything I've ever seen. There's just something about the tone and the way this movie comes across. But on top of that, the performance from Rebecca Hall is one of the best performances I've seen flat out, period, in years. As far as horror goes, it's right up there with Toni Collette's performance in Hereditary. And it's another one of those that it's an absolute travesty that the Oscars never even recognize these performances, because they're so moving, so powerful, so uncomfortable, and really give this huge impact because of the way it speaks to anyone who's dealt with psychological torment, depression, being bipolar, like any of the different mental health struggles that so many of us have. This movie speaks to that so well. But The Night House is one of those movies that, yes, it's disturbing. Yes, it is just uncomfortable. But it's also a movie that is extremely well done and has something to say and isn't just simply shocking to shock you or disturb you or whatever, but to actually represent and show something with artistry that is so profound to so many of us. So if you have yet to see The Night House, it's one that I highly recommend.
Se terminan rápido.
When Evil Lurks is a 2023 Argentinian horror movie, written and directed by Demian Rugna. It stars Ezekiel Rodriguez, Louis Dombrowski, and Emilio Vadovic. In a remote village, two brothers find a demon-infected man about to give birth to evil itself. So they decide to get rid of the man, but merely succeed in helping him to deliver the inferno. So here's another one that I've been raving about for almost 2 years now. It is one of my favorite horror movies, definitely from the last 20 years. This movie is incredible. And there were so many things that freaked me out about this. There's multiple scenes in it that are just bone-chilling, that were shocking, but yet had something to do with the story and weren't just simply shock for shock's sake. But it really goes for it. I mean, it pushes the boundaries. It does some things that a lot of movies don't have the balls to do. And even though those things are super disturbing, I do think they were still necessary for the story and the tone and the way this movie is meant to make you feel. I just think that Demian Rugna is one of the best filmmakers, period, in horror right now. He's one that I'm just so excited to see what he does next, because his first movie is right up there with this one. It's called Terrified, and it's underrated. Not nearly enough people have seen that one either. But this movie is gory, it's disturbing, it's graphic, it's brutal, it's uncomfortable, it looks fantastic, the cast is great. It just has all the things that I want in a really disturbing, well-made horror movie. But without question, When Evil Lurks got under my skin, disturbed me, and absolutely freaked me out. Martyrs is a 2008 French psychological horror movie. Written and directed by Pascal Laugier, it stars Méline Japanoy and Morana Alaoui. Two young women who are both victims of abuse as children embark on a bloody quest for revenge, only to find themselves plunged into a world of depravity. Holy hell, this movie is a lot. It's one of the French Extreme movies that just really got to me. I mean, all the French Extreme movies are disturbing. That's without question, right? But there's something different about this one. It has that element and I don't want to give anything away because I know there's still some out there that haven't seen this movie, and it really is the very end that is what actually really got to me. Because yes, this movie is disturbing through the entire thing. You know, the horrible things that are done to these girls, it's so brutal. It shows everything. It's just a constant barrage of brutality and violence against these poor girls. But that's not what got to me. What got to me is that sense of the unknown, that thing that has to do with the beyond, like I was talking about earlier, the stuff that is what makes cosmic horror and Lovecraftian horror and Eldritch horror. It's what makes that stuff get to me so much, is just that unknowable thing, the thing that's beyond us, those questions that have been haunting man since the cave days, you know. And it's here, it's in this movie, it's in the final lines of this movie. That's what makes this movie so impactful, so bone-chilling and disturbing. But apart from all of that, this movie is just incredible. It's well shot, it's well directed, it's interesting, disturbing, yes, but it is just well performed by the cast. I mean, everything about this is also a well-made movie. Yes, it's shocking, yes, it's disturbing, but I feel like there's more to it than that, and that's why there's not movies on here that a lot of you might be like, hey, what about this one? This one's way more disturbing, whatever. It's not about that to me. That's not the stuff that gets to me. The shock, the extreme, you know, yeah, it's disturbing, but it doesn't really get to me. Like, it doesn't stick with me for days. It's these higher concepts, these different emotions, different thought processes that really disturb me and keep me up at night thinking about them, and they just dwell in my mind and roll around over and over. And so that's why this movie absolutely got to me. And don't even get me started on the American remake. It just should have never been made. This is an absolute masterpiece. But if you're one of those out there that have yet to see this movie and want to watch something that just disturbs you to your core, then Martyrs is a great pick. But that's going to do it for me today. I would love to see in the comments, tell me, what are your movies? What are the ones that really got to you and have stuck with you long after you've seen it, that were a part of you going forward? Either things that you've seen it as a kid or things you've seen as an adult, like, you know, that kind of movie. Not just what is the most disturbing movie you've seen, but what are the ones that really keep you up at night, that really made your brain do dances around these concepts and ideas. And I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or you can become a channel member and help support the channel that way by clicking on the join button down there. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this video, click right here to watch me talk about 10 horror movies that I think are absolutely disturbing. And I'll see you guys next time.